Boom. High in the sky, the towering palace suddenly exploded, a terrifying force surrounding it, crushing the palace into dust. The scene unfolded so quickly that, when the palace shattered, the entire world seemed to freeze. Whether it was the countless strong cultivators of Manor or the gazes that had been cast from all directions, all were stunned in place. No one expected Chen to act so ruthlessly, showing no respect to the esteemed profound Heaven Elder, and this would undoubtedly infuriate the latter. Provoking a heavenly supreme, today's events would surely not end easily. Before the grand hall of Manor, many powerful figures were horrified, and some couldn't help but inwardly lament. Their Manor Lord had acted far too recklessly. Angering a heavenly supreme could hardly be considered wise. From a distant place, Venerable Purple Cloud, Golden Rock Emperor, and others were also watching the scene unfold, their faces showing mocking smiles. This Chen had finally appeared, and the moment he did, he couldn't hold back his anger and shattered the profound Heaven Elder's palace. With this, the profound Heaven Elder would never let this go. The destruction of Manor seemed inevitable today. Amid countless gazes of regret, mockery, and sorrow, a brilliant spiritual light began to gather amidst the shattered palace in the sky, gradually taking the shape of a figure. The figure was cloaked in a black robe adorned with patterns of the sun, moon, and stars. His hair was pale, but his face was as smooth and white as an infant's. His eyes were deep, his brows like swords, exuding a sharp and intimidating aura. As his gaze swept over, even the void trembled under his gaze. Clearly, this was the profound Heaven Elder. At this moment, the profound Heaven Elder's pale face carried a hint of coldness. Spiritual light surged around him as if thousands of stars had formed behind him, creating an overwhelming, majestic presence. He glanced at the broken palace behind him, and then his cold eyes, like a hawk's, locked onto Chen. With a chilling voice, he said, "Young man, you have quite the fiery temper. But now that you've destroyed my palace, your entire Manor will have to pay the price." High in the air, Chen stood, looking at the profound Heaven Elder. He coldly sneered, an old man relying on his age. Impudent. The profound Heaven Elder's eyes turned icy. As a heavenly supreme, he was revered wherever he went. But this Chen not only dared to shatter his palace, but also dared to speak to him so disrespectfully. This was truly courting death. Boom. Countless beams of spiritual light suddenly erupted from the profound Heaven Elder's body, transforming the space behind him into a vast starry sky that stretched for tens of thousands of miles. The stars flickered within it, and boundless, endless pressure swept across the heavens and earth. Boom boom. Under such oppressive force, even the very air trembled. The ground below cracked open, and the cultivators of Manor, those beneath the Earth Supreme level, were immediately flattened to the ground. Those above Earth Supreme weren't spared either. Their knees groaned under the pressure, and their bodies slowly began to kneel. The might of a heavenly supreme was not something an Earth Supreme could withstand. In Manor, it's not your place to rampage, old man. Chen's voice rang out coldly, and with a single step, he released his own vast spiritual light, making him appear as a blazing sun rising in the sky. A similarly powerful pressure, like a tsunami, condensed and surged upwards, directly scattering the profound Heaven Elder's spiritual pressure. Whoosh! As the profound Heaven Elder's pressure dissipated, the entire world seemed to fall silent for a moment. Both the powerful cultivators of Manor and other influential figures stared at the young figure in the sky, their faces filled with shock. They could clearly sense the terrifying spiritual energy emanating from that figure. The fluctuation was unmistakably beyond the Earth Supreme level. It was a heavenly supreme. Mandala and Ling Shi were also staring at Chen in stunned silence. After a while, they exchanged looks, gasping in disbelief. This is the fluctuation of a heavenly supreme. Did the Manor Lord break through to heavenly supreme? Nearby, Lu Tiandao and other high-ranking members of Manor stood frozen, as if struck by lightning. They couldn't snap out of their shock for a long time. Although they were already fully aware of their own mansion master's talents, they never expected that. In just a year after leaving Manor, Chen would actually find the path to becoming a heavenly supreme. The heavenly supreme. The pinnacle existence in the great thousand worlds, a level so unreachable that even the most gifted geniuses couldn't step into it, no matter how perfect they became, even until death. Impossible. From afar, the purple cloud venerable and the others looked on in horror at the young figure. As those who had once clashed with Chen, their shock was the strongest of all. A year ago, Chen was merely at the great perfection stage. Yet now, he had directly entered the heavenly supreme realm. They had always claimed they were only half a step away from the heavenly supreme, but that half step, how many years had they failed to cross it? And yet now, someone who was once behind them had stepped into the heavenly supreme realm before they did. The shock this caused was beyond measure. Chen is an absolute monster. They muttered in disbelief, their hearts stirring with fear. They knew that from now on, there would be no place in the northern domain for them to meddle in. And it wasn't just the northern domain. Once Manor had a heavenly supreme, it could extend its influence across the entire Tianluo continent. Of course, it wasn't just them who were shocked. At that very moment, every leader of the forces in Tianluo continent, whose eyes were fixed in various ways upon Manor, was equally stunned into silence. Clearly, the news of Chen breaking through to the heavenly supreme realm had caused the entire Tianluo continent to fall into stunned silence. As for the countless shocks, Chen paid them no mind. He merely looked up, his expression as cold as ever, staring at the increasingly grim-faced profound Heaven Elder. Damn it! How did this kid break through to the heavenly supreme? Profound Heaven Elder's face changed as he gazed in shock, for according to the information he had received, Chen was only at the Earth's supreme great perfection stage. Yet the Chen before him was clearly a completely different person from the one his intel described. So, weren't you acting mighty when you made trouble at my Manor? Chen looked at profound Heaven Elder, his gaze chilling, and he mocked with a sneer. Hearing this, profound Heaven Elder's face darkened, and he coldly snorted, "Don't get too cocky, kid. You've just entered the heavenly supreme realm. If we really fought, even the Elder could still handle you. After all, he was a heavenly supreme, and with so many eyes on them, if he let Chen embarrass him, it would be a huge blow to his reputation." Chen smiled faintly, raising an eyebrow. "So, who exactly sent you to trouble me?" Although profound Heaven Elder's actions seemed to be the work of the superpower behind the Purple Cloud sect, Chen had an instinctive feeling that there was something else at play. Profound Heaven Elder sneered. "Don't you know who you've offended?" Chen squinted. While he had made many enemies, only one group could have moved a heavenly supreme to deal with him. That could only be the Futu Ancient Clan. From the information he had received from Qing Shuang, although the Futu Ancient Clan no longer dared to strike directly at him, their clan members could still hire other heavenly supremes for help. With the Futu Ancient Clan's connections, hiring a heavenly supreme wasn't a difficult task at all. A cold glint passed through Chen's eyes, but he quickly suppressed it, replying indifferently, "It doesn't matter who sent you. If you've let your mind be clouded, then you'll have to pay the price." Big words. Profound Heaven Elder laughed angrily. He had made a name for himself in the great thousand worlds long before Chen even knew what was going on. Now, this kid dared to speak to him like this. Chen, however, chose not to waste any more words. The millions of rays of spiritual light that had erupted from his body began to retract, eventually converging entirely back into his body. As the vast spiritual power entered him, Chen's previously fleshly body began to transform, turning into a spiritual form as dazzling as crystal. At this moment, it was as though Chen's flesh had completely transformed into pure spiritual power. Every movement of his radiated an indescribable, terrifying power. Heavenly Supreme Body. Profound Heaven Elder's eyes darkened upon seeing this. If Chen could achieve this, it meant he had truly entered the Heavenly Supreme realm. However, this young man had clearly only just stepped into the Heavenly Supreme realm and had yet to fully refine the spiritual veins hidden deep within his body. Elder Xuantian's eyes flickered. As a seasoned spirit grade Heavenly Supreme, he could immediately identify some flaws in Chen's spiritual body. Looks like there's no way to resolve this peacefully today. In that case, let's have a little confrontation with this boy first. Once I subdue him, let's see if he dares to be arrogant again." Elder Xiantian coldly sneered in his heart. He was confident that Mu Chen, having just entered the heavenly supreme realm, clearly hadn't gained full control over his power, so defeating him wouldn't be too difficult. With his resolve made, Elder Xuantian's gaze turned cold and sharp. Staring at Mu Chen, he flicked his sleeve and sneered, "Since you're so ignorant of your own limits, today I'll teach you that even having entered the heavenly supreme realm doesn't mean there are not countless beings in this world who can still subdue you. You're not the one to act arrogantly." Boom. As his words fell, his body trembled, and countless spiritual lights erupted from his flesh. Behind him, countless stars shot into his body, transforming his figure into a brilliant spiritual form, inscribed with celestial constellations. The vast, boundless wave of spiritual power surged from his body, creating a storm of energy that swept across the heavens and earth. High above, the two spiritual bodies hovered in midair, their gazes locked in a fierce exchange. The cold light in their eyes made the temperature in the world plummet sharply. Swish! In the next moment, the two spiritual bodies shot out like bolts of lightning, under the watchful eyes of countless spectators. Whoosh! Between heaven and earth, two dazzling streaks of light streaked across the sky like meteors. Where they passed, space shattered, and the destructive energy they carried caused the entire world to tremble. The two streaks of light didn't employ any complex techniques. Instead, they tore through the sky with a raw, brute force before colliding in a deafening crash. Boom! At the moment of impact, an endless burst of spiritual light erupted from the heavens. In an instant, the clouds in the sky were obliterated for thousands of miles, and the blue sky became empty. Although the battle was taking place in the 9 heavens above, the shockwaves still spread downward, causing the vast earth below to shake, with entire tectonic plates tearing apart. Many Earth Supreme experts were left with their scalps tingling. Such an attack, even as residual waves, was likely beyond their ability to endure. Boom! Under the countless astonished gazes, in the next instant, 2 streams of dazzling light shot out from the point of impact, shattering the space behind them. Mu Chen retreated several thousand feet, his body slightly trembling. His transformed spiritual body, which was as brilliant as crystal, rippled with waves of energy, dissipating the terrifying force. On the other side, Elder Xiantian only retreated about 1,000 feet. His spiritual body, slightly different from Mu Chen's, was inscribed with the celestial constellations, and the flashing stars easily absorbed and neutralized any invading force. In this direct clash, it was clear that Elder Xiantian, as an old and seasoned heavenly supreme, had the upper hand. However, despite this, Elder Xuantian's expression grew much more serious. Through this confrontation, he had sensed that Mu Chen's heavenly supreme spiritual body, although newly formed, was unexpectedly solid and firm. It was evident that Mu Chen's foundations were deep, and his roots were incredibly strong, not merely relying on luck to rise to this level. As Elder Xuantian's face turned solemn, Mu Chen, too, seemed deep in thought. He observed Elder Xuantian's heavenly supreme spiritual body and could feel a distinct difference between their two forms. His own heavenly supreme spiritual body was brilliantly crystal-like, pure to the core, while Elder Xuantian's was imbued with celestial constellations, exuding a strange and mysterious aura. It seems this is a method of strengthening the heavenly supreme spiritual body. But I've just stepped into this level, and I'm still quite unfamiliar with the cultivation of the heavenly supreme, Mu Chen muttered to himself. His cultivation had always been self-reliant, with no elders to guide him, and lacking the backing of a powerful force. Naturally, his experience in this area was lacking. However, during his battle with Elder Xiantian, Mu Chen had vaguely gained some insights, as if he had touched upon something. His gaze flickered for a moment, and suddenly, he shot forward again like a streak of light, carrying immense momentum, charging directly toward Elder Xiantian. He did not use any divine techniques. Instead, he relied entirely on the formidable power of his heavenly supreme body, unleashing the most brutal and savage physical attacks. After ascending to the heavenly supreme stage, his body transformed into pure spiritual energy. Every move he made was infused with indescribable vast strength. To put it bluntly, at this moment, even a casual punch from Chen would possess a power that could rival the eightfold pagoda he previously used. Humph, do you think you can fight me with your primitive heavenly supreme body? Seeing Chen's stance, Profound Heaven Elder sneered coldly. He believed that Chen was simply unwilling to accept his earlier disadvantage. However, Profound Heaven Elder was pleased with this action, as he was confident that when it came to a battle of spiritual bodies, he would undoubtedly have the upper hand. With that, he shook his body, and the celestial stars on his form began to shine brightly. Then, he erupted forward like a streak of light, colliding once again with Chen. Boom, boom. In the high sky, the two streaks of light clashed continuously. They tangled, their physical strength engaging fiercely. Each punch and kick that collided, even the afterimages, created a deafening sound that echoed through the heavens and earth. At that moment, the sky seemed to be filled with the roar of thunder, and the world trembled. Countless eyes watched the two entangled figures of light as they crossed each other again and again. The spiritual light surrounding Chen and Profound Heaven Elder was so intense that anyone below the heavenly supreme stage who stared too long would feel their eyes burning, and their spiritual energy would fluctuate. Although the onlookers couldn't keep their gaze fixed for long, it was clear to them that at this moment, in their exchange, Profound Heaven Elder held an absolute advantage. Each time they collided, Chen was forced back, yet he was incredibly brave, launching a relentless storm of attacks, continuously bombarding Profound Heaven Elder. Lord Mandala, the situation seems to be going against the Mansion Master, Lu Tiandao, and the others said, their concern evident as they watched the scene. Mandala exchanged a glance with Ling Shi, remaining calm. They knew Chen too well. At this moment, he hadn't used any lethal moves and was merely relying on his powerful spiritual body in combat. They were well aware that Chen possessed two top-tier divine abilities from the Great Thousand Worlds. One Chi transforms three purities and the eightfold pagoda, but he had yet to unleash either of them. Clearly, he was using Profound Heaven Elder as a sharpening stone, leveraging this battle to gain insights into the differences of the heavenly supreme stage. Boom. Above the nine heavens, the sky trembled again as Chen was violently struck. He was sent flying thousands of meters, and even the air itself seemed to collapse beneath his steps. Despite being forced back, Chen's eyes flashed with a glimmer of realization. His gaze grew intense. During the repeated clashes with Profound Heaven Elder, he had begun to gradually notice the differences between their heavenly supreme bodies. Every time his spiritual energy entered Profound Heaven Elder's body, the celestial stars on the Elder's form would activate, neutralizing the invading spiritual energy. This ability to resolve energy through the movement of stars was far superior to his own method of brute force endurance. This showed that Profound Heaven Elder's heavenly supreme body was of a higher grade than his own. Though Chen's heavenly supreme body was strong, it seemed to be separated by a thin, almost imperceptible membrane that prevented his body from possessing these unique abilities. In contrast, Profound Heaven Elder had fully exhibited these abilities, which allowed him to gain the upper hand in every clash. My flesh, bones, and even my blood have been transformed into a spiritual body. If there's any barrier, it must lie deeper within my body. Chen's gaze flickered as his thoughts raced. At a certain moment, a flash of spiritual light crossed his mind. The insights that had occurred to him during their earlier clashes with Profound Heaven Elder suddenly surged within him. I know what it is. It's the spiritual veins. A look of realization passed through Chen's eyes. The concept of spiritual veins was something every beginner in cultivation would remember. The higher the grade of a person's spiritual veins, the faster they could cultivate. Chen clearly remembered that when he was at the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, his great rival Ji Xian had possessed a heavenly grade spiritual vein. However, later, as his strength reached a certain level, the concept of spiritual veins gradually faded away. Many people believe that spiritual veins were only useful in the early stages of cultivation, but as one advanced, their significance would diminish or even disappear entirely. From a certain perspective, this idea does have some truth to it, and even Chen once thought the same. But in that brief moment earlier, he finally understood. The spiritual vein deep within his body wasn't useless. Rather, many people lacked the strength to truly refine it. Those who possessed the strength to do so had to meet a necessary condition. That condition was to step into the heavenly supreme realm and cultivate the heavenly supreme body. Only by transforming the physical body and the spiritual body could one sense the spiritual veins deep within their body and refine them, allowing the spiritual body to transform and achieve perfection. Chen stood in the air, a smile appearing on his handsome face. In truth, when he first entered the heavenly supreme realm and cultivated the heavenly supreme body, he had a vague feeling that something was missing. Now, after fighting against a true, seasoned heavenly supreme, he finally understood what the flaw was. At this moment, the profound heaven elder also noticed Chen's expression. His gaze sharpened as he contemplated for a moment, instantly seeing through Chen's purpose. His lips couldn't help but twitch, secretly furious. This kid had actually treated him, the profound heaven elder, as a sparring partner, using their battle to perfect his own shortcomings. He had previously thought Chen was prideful and unwilling to admit defeat, but little did he know, Chen had intentionally engaged in such a fierce battle to explore the path to perfecting the heavenly supreme body. The profound heaven elder's face darkened as he stared at Chen, grinding his teeth. It seems you're quite clever, figuring out the flaw in your heavenly supreme body so quickly. Indeed, he continued. I'll tell you plainly. Only by refining the spiritual veins within your body can the heavenly supreme body be perfected. And the stronger the spiritual veins, the more marvelous the heavenly supreme body will become after refining them. However, even if you know this, what does it matter? Sharpening your weapon on the battlefield, what good will it do? In a sense, these experiences weren't exactly secrets. With Chen's ability, even if he hadn't fought him today, he would have eventually figured it out in the future, though it would have taken some time. Moreover, knowing about it was one thing. Actually refining the spiritual veins was another. At least, right now, the profound heaven elder wasn't going to give Chen the time to refine them. Hearing the profound heaven elder's sneer, Chen couldn't help but smile. Since my goal has been achieved, I won't play with you any longer, old man. Upon hearing this, the profound heaven elder's mocking expression deepened, but before he could say another word, he suddenly saw Chen form a hand seal. Immediately, the space around him trembled. Two figures, one black and one white, slowly emerged from the void, their indifferent gazes fixed on the profound heaven elder. The two figures looked exactly like Chen. As they stood at his sides, two immense waves of heavenly supreme-level spiritual energy surged outward, sweeping across the entire space. The heavens and earth trembled violently. The profound heaven elder's face, once full of mockery, began to stiffen as he looked at the two figures whose aura matched Chen's exactly. Even with his seasoned experience, his heart was shaken to its core. In the distance, when the two figures appeared by Chen's side, countless gazes from across the world froze in shock. They all realized that the two avatars emitted the exact same heavenly supreme fluctuation as Chen's true body. Far away, people like the purple cloud venerable stood dumbfounded, staring at the scene. After a long pause, they couldn't help but gasp in shock, their astonishment completely visible on their faces. They were not unfamiliar with Chen's avatars, as they had fought against them before. However, they had never imagined that after Chen stepped into the heavenly supreme realm, these avatars would be identical in strength. After all, a heavenly supreme was no small feat. Even the strongest of avatars should have some limitations, right? But from what they were seeing now, Chen's divine powers transcended those limitations. At this point, Chen's Manor didn't possess just one heavenly supreme, but three. After all, even the superpowers behind them only had one heavenly supreme each. The Manor, with three heavenly supreme avatars, could absolutely look down upon the entire Tianluo continent. The entire world fell into a deathly silence. Not only were figures like the purple cloud venerable left dumbfounded, but all the other factions on the Tianluo continent, who had been focusing their attention here, were also stunned beyond belief at this moment. Clearly, the two avatars of Chen, who had also reached the heavenly supreme realm, had completely shaken them to their core. I didn't expect the Manor Lord's avatars to have reached this level. After a long moment of shock, Lu Tiandao and the other powerful figures of Mu Manor finally snapped back to reality, and they couldn't help but marvel. They were, of course, aware of Mu Chen's avatars, but like the Purple Cloud Venerable, they had never imagined that after Mu Chen ascended to the Heavenly Supreme Realm, these two avatars would grow even stronger. Immediately, the Mu Manor erupted in a deafening cheer. The morale that had been stifled for nearly half a year under the suppression of the profound Heaven Elder exploded in full force at that moment. It felt incredibly satisfying to release this pent-up frustration. Truly worthy of being one of the 36 supreme divine abilities. Mandala and Ling Shi exchanged a glance, both noticing the shared sense of admiration in each other's eyes. They had anticipated this outcome, but as the three heavenly supremes appeared simultaneously, the shock was still overwhelming. In the sky above, the profound Heaven Elder fixed his gaze on the two avatars beside Mu Chen. After a long while, a hoarse voice finally broke out from between his clenched teeth. One Qi transforms 3 purities? Being a heavenly supreme, the profound Heaven Elder was no fool. He immediately recognized the origin of Mu Chen's divine ability. After all, in the entire Great Thousand World, the only ability that could give avatars the same power as the original body was the One Qi transforms 3 purities technique. Facing the indifferent gaze of the two avatars, the profound Heaven Elder couldn't help but feel a sense of regret rising in his heart. He had originally thought that this task would be easy, given his spirit-grade Heavenly Supreme strength. No matter how many tricks Mu Chen had up his sleeve, he would never be able to escape his grasp. Thus, when he received the task, he had no hesitation in accepting it. But now, he fully realized just how foolish he had been. Mu Chen, so young yet already at the Heavenly Supreme Realm, was an incredibly shocking talent. One could only imagine that his future achievements wouldn't be limited to the spirit-grade Heavenly Supreme Realm. Perhaps, in the future, the Great Thousand World would see another saint-grade Heavenly Supreme, in existence at the pinnacle of the world. This time, he had truly kicked the iron plate. While his expression remained unchanged, inside, the profound Heaven Elder was secretly lamenting. Over the past half-year, he had bullied the Mu Manor, causing them to lose face. He had thoroughly offended Mu Chen, and given the latter's nature, this enmity wouldn't be so easily resolved. However, Mu Chen paid no attention to the profound Heaven Elder's thoughts. His pitch-black eyes, cold and deep, locked onto the Elder, a sharp glint flashing within them. Though the profound Heaven Elder was a heavenly supreme, this time, his actions had caused the Mu Manor to lose face. The morale had nearly shattered completely, and the Elder had made the matter public. If Mu Chen let him off easily today, outsiders might start to look down on Mu Manor, and anyone in the future could step on them without fear of consequences. Mu Chen would never allow that to happen. Turning his head slightly, he gave a subtle nod to his black and white avatars. His gaze was icy. Buzz. At that moment, immense spiritual light surged from within the black and white avatars. Their bodies transformed into dazzling spiritual forms, radiating an overwhelming aura. Whoosh! The two figures shot out like bolts of lightning, carrying with them an unstoppable force, charging directly toward the profound Heaven Elder. This time, facing the combined might of the two Heavenly Supreme avatars, the profound Heaven Elder's expression changed. Previously, he had managed to gain the upper hand by relying on his stronger Heavenly Supreme spiritual body, but now that these two avatars were as powerful as Mu Chen himself, he was bound to lose in a 2-on-1 confrontation. Damn it! The profound Heaven Elder cursed inwardly. No longer daring to rely on his Heavenly Supreme spiritual body alone, he suddenly formed a seal with both hands. The celestial constellations inscribed on his body suddenly burst forth in a brilliant glow. Between those stars, beams of light formed star lines, connecting them, and finally forming a celestial star map on the surface of his body. Celestial star map. Boom. Boom. Two avatars charged forward without hesitation, attacking with ruthless precision. Their spiritual bodies radiated brilliant light, and their punches roared like thunder, leaving countless afterimages. The overwhelming force slammed into the body of the profound Heaven Elder. Boom, boom. The sky trembled, and the very fabric of space seemed to collapse under the violent assault of the two avatars. Despite the profound Heaven Elder's best efforts to block, he was still bombarded by numerous punches. However, at this moment, the star map on the Elder's body began to activate, shielding him. Even as the punches, imbued with destructive power, struck it, the star map only rippled violently without breaking. Such strong defenses. Is this the true power of the Heavenly Supreme Body? From a distance, Mu Chen's main body floated in midair, his gaze flickering. The star map surrounding the Elder was clearly powered by his Heavenly Supreme Body, offering him impressive defense. It seemed that the Heavenly Supreme Body's abilities were indeed extraordinary. However, no matter how powerful the defense, facing the relentless strikes of two Heavenly Supreme avatars, it was clear it wouldn't last long. As expected, despite relying on the star map's powerful defense, the profound Heaven Elder barely maintained his footing. But with time, the star map began to wobble, its collapse imminent. Fighting two Heavenly Supreme avatars alone clearly wasn't as easy as he'd hoped. Boom. In the sky, the two avatars appeared like ghosts, one in front and one behind the Elder. Their punches, like thunder, resonated with earth-shattering roars. In the next instant, they slammed into the star map with a heavy impact. Crack. This time, the star map finally reached its limit. Cracks appeared on its surface, spreading out rapidly, and then it shattered with a deafening sound. The moment the star map shattered, a flash of spiritual light appeared under the Elder's feet. His figure disappeared from his original spot, reappearing in a distant position, narrowly avoiding the two avatars' pincer attack. At this point, it was clear to anyone watching that the profound Heaven Elder had completely fallen to the disadvantage. Whoosh. Though he looked disheveled, the two Heavenly Supreme avatars showed no signs of relenting. Their figures flickered, relentlessly pursuing him, their continuous assault surrounding him from all sides. Faced with this relentless onslaught, the profound Heaven Elder was pushed into a desperate corner, his situation becoming increasingly perilous. Mu Chen, don't push me too far. In the midst of his desperate struggle, the Elder roared angrily. But Mu Chen paid no attention to his shout. The attack of the two avatars grew even more ferocious. Unable to endure the oncoming assault, the profound Heaven Elder could hold back no longer. With an enraged roar, an immense surge of spiritual energy erupted from his body. A massive figure, tens of thousands of feet tall, suddenly materialized behind him. This figure emitted dazzling spiritual light so intense that even the sun seemed dim in comparison. Its movements stirred the air like a storm, and from a distance, it looked like a divine being descending upon the world. This is the supreme Dharma form of a Heavenly Supreme. Countless powerful figures in the world looked up at the massive entity materializing in the heavens, their hearts trembling. The profound Heaven Elder had been forced to reveal his supreme Dharma form, which showed just how dire his situation was. Roar. As soon as the supreme Dharma form appeared, it let out a mighty roar. Above the sky, countless stars seemed to fall, transforming into beams of light that rained down upon the two avatars, forcing them to retreat. Clearly, at this point, the profound Heaven Elder no longer held anything back, unleashing his full combat power. Mu Chen, do you really think I, the Elder, fear you? If you want to fight, then fight. I'll stay with you to the end. The supreme Dharma form stood proudly in the heavens. The profound Heaven Elder stood on its shoulder, roaring. Upon hearing this, Mu Chen looked up, a cold glint flashing across his handsome face. Is that so? Hearing Mu Chen's icy tone, the profound Heaven Elder had a sudden realization. He quickly looked up, only to be horrified by what he saw. A massive crystal pagoda, so large it was beyond description, appeared high in the sky. With a deafening crash, it descended, aiming to suppress him. Boom. The profound Heaven Elder was terrified. He hurriedly activated his supreme Dharma form, unleashing an immense force to resist the falling pagoda. Though he managed to hold it off, it was clear this was only a temporary measure, as the crystal pagoda continued to descend steadily, intent on trapping him inside. Creak. The massive supreme Dharma form creaked under immense strain, with the face of the profound heaven elder turning crimson. After a long pause, he finally realized that he was unable to resist any longer. He took a deep breath and shouted, his voice echoing across the heavens. Purple Chi, true Lord, Thunder Venerable, Dragon Rock Emperor, if you do not intervene, there will be no place for you in the northern domain. As the profound heaven elder's roar reverberated through the world, a few moments of silence followed in the distant void. Suddenly, 3 vast beams of light pierced through space, crashing toward the slowly descending crystal pagoda. At the same time, 3 mighty voices seemed to carry the weight of the heavens themselves, descending from above. Lord of Mu Manor, spare them! Spare them! These 3 mighty and profound voices seemed to come from beyond the void, resonating across the heavens and earth. At the same time, 3 unimaginable forces from the void pierced through, crashing toward the crystal pagoda that was slowly suppressing everything. Clearly, their intention was to rescue the profound heaven elder, who had fallen into a desperate situation. This sudden assault shook the many powerful beings present, for they knew from the profound heaven elder's shout who had made the move. The Purple Chi Spirit Cave, Purple Chi True Lord. The Thunder Sound Monastery, Thunder Venerable. The Dragon Carving Cave, Dragon Rock Emperor. These 3 forces were renowned as supreme powers within the great thousand worlds, and the ones intervening were none other than the heavenly supreme of the 3 great powers. According to the rules of the Tianluo continent, the heavenly supreme was forbidden from meddling in the conflicts on this continent. Yet, the heavenly supremes of these 3 forces could no longer stand by. They had recognized Mu Chen's overwhelming strength. If they allowed him to continue suppressing the profound heaven elder, his momentum would soon be unstoppable, and the entire northern domain would fall into Mu Manor's hands. The forces they had painstakingly built over many years would crumble. Thus, they could not let Mu Chen's aura rise any further and had to take action to suppress it while they still could. Based on their calculations, as long as they saved the profound heaven elder, with the 4 of them working together, even if Mu Chen possessed 2 heavenly supreme avatars, they would ensure that he swallowed his pride today. The elders are intervening. Upon witnessing this, the 3 true monarchs of the Purple Cloud sect couldn't contain their joy. Once the 3 heavenly supremes made their move, the situation would inevitably turn in their favor. With such overwhelming power, even Mu Chen would have to bow down. In the sky, Mu Chen looked up at the 3 beams of tremendous power tearing through the air, a cold glint flashing in his black eyes. He knew exactly what the 3 heavenly supremes were planning. I've refrained from taking the northern domain for the sake of caution in the past. But now, since you've chosen to intervene, don't blame me. Mu Chen sneered, then stepped forward, appearing directly atop the pagoda. He formed a hand seal, and millions of purple gold rays erupted. In the next instant, a colossal purple gold figure, towering tens of thousands of feet, appeared behind him. The immortal golden body. At this moment, the immortal golden body had grown exponentially stronger compared to before Mu Chen's breakthrough. Its size alone had increased tenfold, expanding from 1,000 feet to tens of thousands of feet. Furthermore, the immortal golden body exuded a brilliant purple gold light, and its massive form had solidified into something almost tangible. If the previous immortal golden body had been mostly a shadowy figure, this one now stood as a true purple gold Buddha. The massive body of the immortal golden body was etched with ancient patterns, reminiscent of the primordial world, radiating an immortal glow that seemed to defy the passage of time. As the immortal golden body appeared behind Mu Chen, it opened its colossal mouth, releasing a mighty purple gold river that crashed forth. The moment the river emerged, the surrounding space began to collapse as if it could no longer bear the weight. Mu Chen looked up at the purple gold river and nodded slightly. This river was formed from immortal divine runes, and he estimated that it contained a total of 480 of these runes. Before advancing to the heavenly supreme stage, even with his 2 avatars merged, Mu Chen could only barely activate around 300 immortal divine runes. But now, with a single thought, his immortal golden body could release nearly 500 immortal divine runes. This clearly demonstrated just how much his strength had increased. After all, as more immortal divine runes were condensed, it became increasingly difficult to refine even a single one, let alone hundreds. The purple-gold river surged high in the sky. Then, with a thought from Chen, it twisted and coiled, finally transforming into a fierce and mighty violet-gold divine dragon. Roar! The divine dragon roared, its dragon's cry shaking the heavens. Whoosh! The violet-gold divine dragon shot upwards, carrying boundless power as it crushed the void. Under the gaze of countless eyes, it collided with the three vast and supreme forces descending from the heavens. At the moment of impact, it felt as if the world had fallen into silence. Though no earth-shattering sounds rang out, the space above the nine heavens began to collapse, gradually forming a massive, pitch-black void hundreds of thousands of feet wide. The violet-gold divine dragon and the three supreme forces were all completely annihilated in that instant. Gulp! Watching this scene, countless powerful figures couldn't help but swallow hard, their eyes filled with shock. No one had expected that Chen would be able to block the combined attacks of the three heavenly supremes. How is this possible? The purple Chi True Lord and the others were dumbfounded. While the three heavenly supremes hadn't used their full strength, it was still the combined might of three, yet now, Chen alone had blocked them. This was a clear indication of just how powerful Chen's combat abilities were. If someone is to make a disturbance in my Manor, it should be dealt with by us. It's not for you to meddle. Chen stood atop the pagoda, his gaze cold as he looked into the void. His voice echoed through the sky, carrying an intimidating aura that sent chills down the spine. A deathly silence hung in the air, as if even the three heavenly supremes had been momentarily stunned by Chen's powerful move. However, Chen paid them no mind. He stomped heavily on the pagoda. At once, the pagoda trembled, emitting a brilliant crystal light that enveloped the elder of the profound heaven clan beneath it. Suddenly, the elder of the profound heaven clan let out a miserable scream. His enormous supreme dharma form dimmed, and with a whoosh, both he and his dharma form were suppressed and sucked into the crystal pagoda. The crystal pagoda stood proudly in the void, radiating holy light. Yet, as all eyes turned toward it, fear and awe filled their hearts. A heavenly supreme had been forcibly suppressed before them. It was an utterly shocking sight. Shepherd Lord. Shepherd Lord is invincible. The silence in the air lasted for a moment before an ear-splitting roar rang out. The countless strong figures in Manor began to shout and cheer, their voices filled with fervor and reverence. They looked at Chen with eyes full of admiration. Today, Manor had been suppressed by the elder of the profound heaven clan, unable to lift its head, but who could have imagined that their lord would return so powerfully, even suppressing a heavenly supreme with his own hands? Such an extraordinary achievement filled every member of Manor with pride and confidence. With a leader like this, who in the northern domain, or even on the Tianluo continent, would dare to oppose Manor? As the cheers of Manor erupted like a tsunami, many other powerful forces grew pale, their bodies icy cold. These forces had previously chosen to sever ties with Manor when it seemed like the manor was in danger of being destroyed. They had thought that Manor would not survive today, but who could have predicted such a drastic turn of events? It's over. From now on, there's no place left for us in the northern domain, they muttered in despair, their faces as pale as death, utterly disheartened. Hearing the deafening cheers from below, Chen stretched out his palm. The massive crystal pagoda began to shrink, finally resting in his hand. Chen glanced at it. He had already activated the eightfold pagoda, trapping the elder of the profound heaven clan inside. But now was not the time to deal with him. Holding the crystal pagoda, he looked out into the void. His calm voice echoed across the heavens. Since the three of you have made your move, step forward. Hiding in the shadows is not the style of a heavenly supreme. As Chen's words fell, three beams of light descended from the void, coalescing into three imposing figures. The three figures stood tall in the sky, their presence like an abyss, shaking the very air around them. Clearly, these were the same three heavenly supremes, Purple Chi True Lord, Thunder Venerable, and Dragon Eagle Emperor, who had attacked earlier. At this moment, All three looked grim. Despite their combined efforts, they had failed to save the elder of the profound Heaven clan from Mu Chen's grasp, which was a huge blow to their dignity. However, Mu Chen paid no attention to their expressions. His gaze grew deep as he spoke lightly. The elder of the profound Heaven clan came to block the gates of my Mu Manor, and I'm sure you were behind it. Now, you must give Mu Manor an explanation. Upon hearing this, the three Heavenly Supremes' eyes narrowed, and Dragon Eagle Emperor's sharp gaze flicked toward Mu Chen. He sneered, "Oh, Shepherd Lord, what kind of explanation would you have us give? From now on, the northern domain belongs to my Mu Manor. All of your forces will withdraw," Mu Chen said casually, his gaze slightly lowered. These words caused an uproar among countless people, and the three Heavenly Supremes were furious. They never expected Mu Chen to be so audacious in front of the three of them. "Your words are a bit too much, Shepherd Lord." The purple Chi True Lord, dressed in a purple robe and exuding an ethereal aura, frowned and said. The Dragon Eagle Emperor, known for his brutal temperament, coldly responded, "If we refuse, what can you do?" "What can I do?" Upon hearing this, a terrifying murderous intent erupted from Mu Chen's body like a storm, spreading without restraint. At the same time, black and white Mu Chen appeared beside him, his eyes cold as he stood tall, gazing at the three of them from afar. The world fell silent. Everyone could feel the intense killing intent hidden beneath the young man's calm expression. Clearly, the blockade by the profound Heaven Elder had truly angered the Lord of Mu Manor. To intimidate the entire Tianluo continent, even in front of these three supreme powers, he still presented the most dominant and forceful stance. Under the gaze of countless shocked eyes, the young man in the sky smiled lightly, then the cold voice echoed. "What can you do? Let's fight and see who lives and who dies."